Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KipAdger.com, out here with my youngest enforcer.
Ira.
And what are we here to talk about?
Scuba diving.
Yes, we are here to talk about scuba diving. So this story actually starts years ago. How long have you wanted to scuba dive for?
A very long time.
I basically say since he was 7, so about 3 years. And sometimes when kids are like, hey, I really want to do this, they'll grow out of it. Like, hey, I want to ride a tiger. I want to ride a tiger too. That's cool. But sometimes you grow out of stuff like that. I eventually just realized I'm too big to ride a tiger practically. But you wanted to scuba dive for at least 3 years. And so what have you been doing for the last year or so?
I'm working on getting my certificate.
It requires money. So what have you been doing?
Working hard to get money so I can pay for my certificate.
Yes, basically saving up money. And how have you done that? Birthday money?
Lemonade stand.
Chores?
Yeah, definitely chores.
Basically working hard, saving up money. How much did you end up saving up?
$375.
I think it was actually closer to probably $450 once you bought your books.
Yeah.
But a significant amount of money. And there locally, what was the name of the shop?
Jake's Scuba Adventures.
Yes, they're in Coeur d'Alene, Jake's Scuba Adventures. So finally got all his money together and we went and got cash out of the bank and you went in and bought it, right? Mm-hmm. Or paid for it ahead of time?
Paid for it, yeah.
Yes. And all this stuff coincided with knowing that who was going to take us down to Mexico.
Grandma.
Yes. My mom was going to take my boys and I down to Cabo, which was going to be really cool. So we were thinking it'd be pretty fun to scuba dive, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure we did it ahead of time. And because of scheduling, it basically worked out that because of your birthday, when's your birthday?
August 29th.
So we won't be able to start until September. But then when we went to go pay for it and schedule it, they were already booked through the end of October. So that left the beginning of November. So it was going to be close, right? Mm-hmm. So we ended up going, and that first weekend in November, I guess Saturday, I went and I dropped you off, or I guess it was a Friday, and dropped you off for like 3 hours because it was his class, not my class. And how did that go?
I was nervous in the beginning. Somebody helped me, and I did better through the rest of it, but it was about 3 hours, so...
And did you pass your written test?
Yes, by 1%. The passing grade was 75%. I got 76%.
When I got there, when I showed up, he was waiting to get his test graded. And yeah, I was under the impression that they basically teach the test. I hadn't done it for years. I got my certification, I think I was like 20, maybe 21. 21, I guess, down in like Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, U.S. Naval Station. And I didn't remember, but he didn't make it all the way through the book and passed by the skin of your teeth. And then what happened the next day?
We did our lessons in the pool.
Yes, it was skill time in the pool. And did you have a hard time with some of it?
Yes.
Kind of had a hard time with some of it. Were there maybe some frustration, a little bit of tears? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's 10, and so there was a point where it's like set up and tear down your equipment, do it 4 times, and then meet over in the deep end. And you were really frustrated because it was taking you longer than every other adult there by like 10 or 20 years. And yeah, it's okay, but you ended up getting it, right? Mm-hmm. And then went through basically that whole skill session in the pool. Then after that first weekend, what happened next weekend?
We went scuba diving in the lake.
We did. We ended up going down to Lake Coeur d'Alene, out on this point, and it was time for your skill dives. How did dive number 1 go?
Not the best. When we were doing our skill regulated recovery, you had to take it out of your mouth and then put it back in and clear it. And mine, I took it out and then it started purging and it couldn't get back in, so I had to swim up 16 feet to the surface.
Basically started free flowing on him. And he ended up surfacing because kind of panicked, right? It was frustrating watching everything that honestly led up to that, because here he is, like 10 years old, probably like 5% body fat, in his wetsuit. Lake is freezing cold. He's the first one out there, gets squared away, and he was going with 3 other people. And the person that was his like dive partner for this, sorry dude, soup sandwich, like just struggle bus. And so he's out there standing in the water, like getting colder and colder, and I'm watching this guy struggle, just trying to like figure out how to get his hood on. And like, my son has like a finite timeline before he starts freezing. So I definitely think that probably added to it. But when you came up, you were pretty disappointed, right? It was pretty rough because he basically failed that skill portion. And so you had the option right then and there to do what?
To do it again.
Or
just quit.
Yeah. I was like, hey, this is your thing. It's not my thing. You can quit if you want. Like, you paid money to be here, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. And fortunately, Jake's Dive Shop, or Dive Adventures, they actually have this really nice heated dive trailer. So you can sit in there. It's super warm, really humid because of all the wetsuits and stuff. But you sat in there and you warmed up for probably like over an hour or something. And then we talked about some things, right? What did we talk about?
Just don't want to waste your time, don't want to waste my time, and don't want to waste the guy's time taking me out there.
We did. We definitely talked about like the value of time and not wasting people's to include our own time. But the other things we talked about, if you remember, we talked about one, what happened, right? Mm-hmm. And then we talked about why it happened and why did that happen. Because what happened is the regular came out, started free flowing, you weren't able to retrieve it, right? Mm-hmm. And so why did that happen?
Because I was really cold, and when I took it out, my mouth got really cold, and then I was trying to look around for it, and then I grabbed it, but it was like it was starting to free flow, and I started to panic, and I had to go up.
So we talked about what happened, why it happened, and then what did we talk about lastly?
What we're gonna do next time.
How to keep it from happening. And so with that game plan basically in place, after you had warmed up, you went out there with just who? Just you and Jake, right? Mm-hmm. And ended up going through basically the last 2 dives that you needed to take care of that day, and putting or adding that skill back to one of those 2 dives. And did you do it?
Yeah. I would say Jake is probably the best instructor. I mean, the other guy was so.
The other guy was a good instructor, but he also had a number of people. Yeah, there's a wasp. He also had a number of other people to worry about. And so, no, it was really cool that Jake took him out and took care of that. And then the next day, it was time for the last and final dive. That next day, we went down there after I'd exchanged your tank, and what happened for your final dive?
We gotta do a free dive in the lake.
Basically a fun dive. What did you see on that dive?
A shipwreck. It was a little fiberglass fishing boat. Not very big.
Awesome. And how deep did you go?
40 feet.
Pretty awesome. And that basically wrapped up his dive certification. And super proud of you for that. On the one hand, not easy, especially when you're 10. I don't think I would have the patience or willingness to go through with that when I was 10. And the fact that it wasn't easy, honestly, super proud of you for that. Like, to be able to run into adversity and fail, which most people are just afraid to do, period, and consequently paralyzed by the fear of failure, so they don't do things. But to actually fail in something and then come back and reaccomplish that, that's pretty huge. And then, about a week or so later, here we are. Where are we?
We're in Mexico.
We're down in Cabo. We came down for Thanksgiving, thanks to Grandma, who brought us down here. It's been an amazing trip, to include Thanksgiving Day, which you and I had our special adventure the day before Thanksgiving, and then Jatta and I had our special adventure on Thanksgiving Day yesterday. Here's a quick recap of that. Jatta, thumbs up. So cool.
I win, Dad. I'm gonna toss this fish back in.
Whoa, remora.
Hi.
Come on, boy.
Yeah.
Come on. Stand right inside.
This is only slightly bigger than
Come on. Oh, look at the fish right here.
But then, back to Ira's and my story. The day before Thanksgiving, what did we do?
We went scuba diving.
We did. First time ever, ocean dives, 2 tanks, and yeah, we ended up going on 2 dives. What did we do on that first dive?
We went about 52 feet.
We did. We ended up going 52 feet. In part because the dive master there that was leading the dive, really cool guy, and afterwards he told me, he's like, you know, like I was kind of apprehensive like with your son on this dive, but watching him continually check his like gauges and continually being in communication, like hand and arm signals and stuff, he's like really glad to have him along. And it was cool. We definitely saw some cool stuff. And then on our second dive, we probably saw the coolest stuff. What did we see on the second dive?
We saw an octopus, a green moray eel, which I thought was kind of ugly.
It's like breathing in the rock, moray eel.
It looked like he was hissing at us underwater.
And then really cool rockfish also.
A bunch of puffer fish.
That's right, pufferfish.
There were needlefish.
The sea lions.
Sea lions.
We swam through this crazy channel between the rocks. Super cool.
There was also a big shipwreck.
That's right, we got to see a shipwreck.
A big one.
A big one. It was overall a really, really incredible experience. And so happy to be able to share it with you, and definitely really proud of you. Again, yeah, like 10 years old, really at the end of the day, setting a goal when he's like 7 years old. And 3 years later, through persistence and hard work, achieving that goal. And then being able to share in that with you, that was pretty huge. But thank you again. I'm proud of you, buddy. And that right there wraps up our dive adventure. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Rock gets hot, now she can't stop. She's a lot like a robot, and she can't be bought, and her nerves are shot, and she starts